Awesome. Thank you, Beth. Excited for everyone that is here so far, and share out the link with your colleagues if they're excited about learning about some creative ways that you can use PowerPoint to just do some things that surprised me as an avid user of Google Slides and Apple Keynote. Some really amazing things. All right, so it is 5 o'clock. We are going to start. I got a confirmation that you can hear me. I just want to also get a confirmation that you can see this welcome slide right here with my giant face on it. Everyone sees my slide deck? Awesome. Okay, so I'll say the following, no pressure, but I have been super blessed to present all over the country, and the engagement that I have with educators face to face is like the energy. And if anyone feels inspired to turn on their camera, it would just be like a little more energetic for me. But I get that like some of you, might not be into that. So no pressure, but it's always nice to see smiling faces of educators as we all work and collaborate, because there's going to be some collaboration. This is not a lecture. It's going to introduce a concept that I'm pretty excited about, and I'm excited that it works awesome in PowerPoint, just like it works in other presentation software platforms. So Sarah, I saw you for a moment. Hello, everybody. It's awesome to have everybody here. We are recording this so that it can be shared in a recording, so that others that aren't able to make it live can get into the learning. So we're gonna get going right here. and I am going to sort of set the pace for what we're going to do in the next hour. So I want to discuss a little bit different interactive experiences that we interface with as educators, as people in the world, different platform and interactive experiences that we think our students might, because that's going to help us really start to, brainstorm ways that we could use PowerPoint to actually mimic some of those experiences if, let's say, we don't have the time or the skill to create an app or create some sort of interactive web page. There's some really great ways that we can use PowerPoint to make that happen. We're going to talk about ways that it can promote engagement and student choice. And we're also going to talk about how students creating interactive experiences can be a really awesome way to facilitate learning with peers. Because one of the things that I found over, I've been in education for the past 11 years. It's a second career for me, but my first love. And I have seen from working at the K-8 level with as low as second and third grade, students authoring really great content that other peers in their class can learn from. And they're just thrilled with the idea that they could make something that other people are going to see and not just their teacher for a grade. So we're going to explore that. So I wanted to, we could use the chat. People really like to chat. No one likes to get on their microphone and start talking. But if you could share in the chat some different types of interactive experiences that you or your students interact with. So it could be an app, a specific app. It could be some sort of interactive book or something that you use with like a Kindle, whatever it is, share in the chat. And sharing is caring. So the more engagement and we have, the better this becomes more of a collaborative conversation than just a sort of an interesting lecture. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to to showcase some of our own creative ideas and share. So just in the chat. Awesome. Flipgrid. I will say Flipgrid is definitely one of my top favorites. Awesome. So we got Flipgrid, we got HyperDocs, we got Nearpod, multimedia text sets, we got Pear Deck. Yeah. So there are really awesome education products that promote interactivity. And while we wouldn't necessarily start creating, dozens of interactive experiences when these platforms have already made those visual and interactive opportunities, ready to go, it is really cool for a student to create something that kind of feels like they just made an app without any coding experience. So I think that's been well received with the students that I have done this with myself, and then also with the educators that I've shared this style in the past, whether it was me showcasing it with Keynote or showcasing it with Google Slides. I'm now trying to do whatever I can to make sure that regardless of which type of platform you're using, these creative opportunities exist, and the creativity is really device agnostic. So what I would share, and they were shared in the chat, so it was great that everyone got to contribute. So there's interactive websites. We're interacting all the time with images and with videos and with different text. You could have, I was just in an app, and actually I think it was in Teams, and they had shrunk down the full text of the of the conversation so that you could expand it, but it would kind of shrink down the conversation so that you wouldn't have to scroll so much. So sometimes interactivity can just be something that's productive. But what we're going to focus on today is how can we use interactivity to make things fun. So it can be a game, it can be some sort of interactive like an ebook or like an app, but it's really all about the power of the hyperlink. Most of us look at presentation software as this linear experience, right? Like right now, I'm in a slide deck and I'm just going to move through the slides. I can move back, I can move forward, but you can actually use hyperlinking to jump around all over the place. And it's pretty awesome. And I think that what we'll explore today when we start to do a little bit more of like a sandbox in the next probably 10 or so minutes, I think you're going to be surprised at the power. So one of the questions that I want to pose is, how can interactive content promote engagement and student choice? So you can share in the chat if you have any ideas. I'm going to share a little bit as we are all hopefully in the chat sharing something. But I think what I have found is we did a project in 3rd grade. This is a few years ago now, and it was a Native American history project. And the way that these types of projects, forget the content for a second, whatever it is, you have a student or a group of students research information. What do? They make a PowerPoint and they present it on the smartboard, and it's super boring because 3rd graders don't have presentation skills. It puts everybody to sleep. The teacher is annoyed. Like, it's just a lose-lose. And I thought for a moment, like, there's got to be a different way to go about this. And I started to explore with this teacher who was a veteran teacher. She reminded me this first project that we worked on, she said, I could have taught you in 3rd grade. So I'm going to give you one chance to show me like the power of technology. And if not, I'm going to go back to what I know works. And I was super grateful and blessed because she ended up being an incredible collaborator, a partner in creativity. But one of the things that she said was, when the students created these interactive experiences that showcased the different components of the project, they were obsessed with learning from each other to the point that we had to take away the iPads because they wouldn't leave and go to recess. And I was like, that's the biggest problem that we would all love to have, is that our students are so engaged with learning, they don't want to leave the classroom. But it was a defining moment for me as I started to explore different ways that students facilitating learning by creating these experiences, not just like an essay to read or a photo collage or even a slideshow, but really interactive information that, like, if we could only create an app super quickly, like, we would just make apps instead of kind of going through this complicated process. So I see some of the comments are with Flipgrid and HyperDocs. So that's an awesome way. HyperDocs is a perfect example of how you can use creative ways to make things interactive. We have Bitmoji scenes have been fun to use, and then Breakout. I'm assuming she's referring to Breakout EDU. That was Grace in the chat. So there are a lot of different ways that we could go about this. And one of the things that I think will be important is that we experiment today together with the process, keeping in mind, of course, that like the product can be whatever we want it to be. So that content can be interchangeable. We could use this. I've seen a couple educators, as I was sharing this out on Twitter, that had showed me how they had created introductory lessons for a large unit that they were going to embark on, and they created those interactive experiences for their students to consume. And then, that just ties into the second, which is that facilitation. So I'm curious to hear from you, how have you seen facilitation of learning by peers be impactful? And as we look at ways that we'll explore today, like, have you seen it where students have more confidence, or maybe they're more excited, more engaged? Have they had a greater sense of pride in their work? But if you want to share in the chat, I think that would be cool to just hear. One of the things that I've prided myself in the presentations that I do, that up until this pandemic have been live face to face, which I can't tell you how much I miss interacting face-to-face with educators is that my sessions are, they're more lecture than I'd like them to be, but I pride myself that they are interactive and experimental, and that teachers are really doing things. So the more you contribute, the more value, because I think that that's what's really awesome about these types of sessions, whether it's virtual or in person, is like you all have so many awesome ideas. So as you sort of come up with something that might be awesome, don't hold it to yourself. Share it in the chat so that we can all feel like, hey, wow, I just learned something, not just from the tech rabbi, but like this other awesome educator from, somewhere around the country, around the world. So I want you all to select a topic right now. I'm going to give you about 40 seconds, a minute to think of something, because there are a lot of really cool ways that we could go about this. And it just happens to be that all three examples I showed in my slide deck are science-based, and that's what happens when the science teacher wants to collaborate with you. Just to give you a little bit of context where I'm coming from, so I'm the director of innovation for a boys' high school in Los Angeles, Eula Boys High School, and I have an innovation lab. I run an entrepreneurship program, but I also support educators, my colleagues, in creating interactive and just really exciting types of experiences that infuse learning with technology, etc. So it happens to be that my colleague, who is a science teacher, really is really into collaborating. So there's science stuff. But select a topic. We got about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to get into it. We are going to start creating, and I'm gonna demo you an example, and then I'm gonna show you how I made it. You'll ask some questions, and then you're gonna start making, and then hopefully we'll get some people sharing. Maybe we'll use some of the hashtags for this Global EdTech Academy, and we can share some things on Twitter. I also have a Facebook group that is full of awesome educators that are focusing on creativity and building their creating with confidence is that focus. We have another. So Flipgrid was mentioned again, and also creating interactive. Someone said I have not used interactive activities outside of quizzes and Quizlet, but I'm amazed by how HyperDocs and Flipgrid can do to individual learning of our students. So they're going to use those platforms. That is awesome. Thinglink, yeah, Thinglink. So I like Thinglink. I think if we're going through the process of making something quick and interactive, I personally would use Thinglink. I wouldn't recommend, as I said earlier, using the process we're going to go through to make things on a regular basis. But I think there are times where there's a certain level of interactivity where you're going to make it mimic a little bit more like an app, because you can customize the certain types of things as far as the look of the design. So we're gonna jump right into it. So this is the way that I create this, and then I'll show you it. So you have to create the interactive diagram by choosing one foundational image. So you're gonna focus on a topic. It should hopefully be visual, because those are the best types of interactive experiences. And then you're going to add as many slides as interactive experiences that you want to create. And then, we'll get into the, complexities of transparent. It says shares, but it's meant to say shape. So I'll edit that typo when we get into the PowerPoint. But you want to be aware of, and I'll sort of reverse engineer this, is like there's considering your imagery. There's making a plan for like how you're going to go about it, and I'm going to explain my process, and hopefully that is valuable. If not, then you'll whatever works for you, but I'm going to share how it works for me. So thinking about how you're going to hyperlink the objects, considering adding additional media, and then I think the most important thing is your audience. So I've had examples working with collaborating with my colleagues over the years where sure you can create an interactive experience for one of your peers as a third grader or a fifth grader. But I've worked on projects where eighth graders created interactive books to show fifth graders a more introductory level of content focused on the Revolutionary War. So the eighth graders worked on Revolutionary War history, super in depth, not as in depth as the fifth graders during their colonial unit are going to focus on it. So they had to create an experience that was focused on a different audience that didn't have the same amount of information and knowledge that they did. So they want to consider audience. So here's my interactive diagram. And if you notice here on the screen, I just want to ask one disclaimer. Someone can mention in the chat. I'll just respond to one of the chat messages. Yes, this will be recorded, and Q and Microsoft are archiving all the sessions with all those recordings. But can you see my mouse right now, my mouse pointer? Can anyone give me like a thumbs up? Yeah, you could see that? Okay, cool. I got a thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so because it's like if I start talking and everyone is like, what is he talking about? But everybody's too shy to let me know that I'm like totally doing it wrong. So when I'm in my presentation on a device that has a mouse pointer, so whoops, hold on. So I have this pointer, but if you notice when I hover over certain areas, it turns into this little hand with its finger pointing. That is the hyperlink symbol when you are inside a presentation. That's how you know that there's something hyperlinked here. And that could be, the hyperlink can be used in so many different situations. In this case, when I click on Gills, it's going to pop up with this little sort of pop-up information, like an information pop-up. And you can make these as extravagant as you want. I try to make things a little simple because my first career before education, I was actually a creative director for a design company that I worked for. I was the co-founder of this design company. And so sometimes I will like over design things and sort of forget that like not everybody is maybe as comfortable with design as I am. So I've really tried to keep it simple, mostly with the hope that each one of you is going to show me up. And that's my joy when I see educators that are like, I'm going to try to make this design like look super awesome. And this is where Thinglink is going to not really be able to compete. So it's that beautiful design that you could potentially make. So you can have a pop-up. You can also have video content here where you can have a video that's embedded and you can be able to play that video. And then you're able to go back to the beginning and you're able to interact with all of the other pieces of content. And so you can just move around this and you can see that there's all these little terms. And this design is like, okay, how many times have students taken a worksheet diagram where it's like fill in the blank and they fill in the terms and they just don't have any real like passion or interest around this topic. But the moment that you let them infuse their personality, like if you were a shark, like what colors would you use? What kind of font? I actually downloaded this font because I thought it looked like shark teeth, like the P and the K and the H, and just it's really sharp on the bottom. So I just felt like, hey, guess what? Like you can be super creative and super personal with the design, and that I think is just something that's super exciting. And I just wanted just a disclaimer that was mentioned in the chat. We'll have some Q&A at certain points, but in the meantime, if you're able to keep your microphone off, it'll keep the recording super clean, and that'll be super appreciated. So it's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. The question is like, how do you make it? How do you go about designing this? So if I go over here, let me just, what happened here? Hold on. Here we are. Let me just make sure I'm actually sharing the right thing over here. Awesome. Okay. I think that the sharing is back. Okay, cool. So here is the PowerPoint. And if I get into this design here, okay, so there's a couple ways that we're going to go about this. So this is what I want you to do while I'm talking about this, right? And thanks for the shout out with the and somebody gave it a little thumbs up kudo, finding the right font. So look, I got to be transparent here. I am a huge design nerd and I'm obsessed with color and shape and fonts. And it's sort of like a a little mission of mine to get everybody, not necessarily to love it as much as me, but to at least appreciate it enough to talk about it and mention it with our students as they're creating content. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. When I talk to people that work in, in the technology industry, in the startup industry, even things like in the field of law or medicine, everyone is required these days to present information, whether you're presenting to a small group of 5 or 6 people to maybe upwards to 100. And it's just unfortunate that so many people have not had an opportunity when they were young to learn design principles so that they can create beautiful design presentations. And one of the things that I have been blown away by, and like, I just have to be transparent and honest, because I strive to do that. I don't want to, I don't want to send the wrong message or pretend that I'm something I'm not. So I'm not a PowerPoint power user, but I have been blown away, absolutely just smiling ear to ear, impressed with the way in which PowerPoint has really looked at machine learning's ability to help you become a better designer. Now, Adobe does this with their software, but I will tell you that way of suggesting slide design, like this right here, okay? This is awesome, okay? This slide designer, you don't have this in Keynote, you don't have this in Google Slides. It is absolutely incredible. The themes and the icons and the slide style, the slide design, it's absolutely incredible. And the truth is that if I didn't already create this little interactive experience outside of PowerPoint, I would have right away gone to something beautiful like some of these, because I just feel like this is it's just clean, it's simple, it's got really good contrast, it has really a cool way of looking at the way that different elements interface and work together. So I just wanted to make that small disclaimer, because I want to give PowerPoint and Microsoft the shout out it deserves when we talk about like easily boosting your design skills. So over here I have these hidden images, these hidden shapes. And what you are able to do is you are able to change the opacity. So as I'm kind of talking through this, feel free to open up PowerPoint, find an image on Google that you think would be a cool image to kind of experiment with, and then you can start to add your labels onto the design so that you can showcase, a flower or an animal, some sort of plant, or maybe it's a map. Whatever it is, it'll be cool to see some content shared on social media, but at least in the chat, if you want to just talk about how you're experimenting here, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to to create some interactive experiences here. So I have these shapes, and it's pretty simple, right? You want to add a shape, so you go over to the insert, you have your shape. And you can just go over and you can literally just drag this shape over the area that you want to make interactive, that you want to hyperlink. And you want to make it big enough so it kind of covers the area, but you don't want to overlap the areas, right? You want to be careful that those designs are like at most, a little bit, and really, like I just said, don't make them overlap. And then ironically, the 2 examples that I shared overlapped. So I will actually move these over a little bit. So you have your shape, and there is a way for you to remove. Okay, got it. Thanks for automatically saving. That's kind of you. So you're able to do no fill. Okay, so you still have the outline, and then you're able to no outline. So now you have this object that is there, but it's not there. And you can then click on it. I think I just deleted it. Hold on. I don't know what happened there. That was kind of crazy. But that's what you get when you do a live demo. Okay. All right. Hold on. This is like aggressively not listening to me. Okay. Hold on. No outline. Okay. That's weird. Hold on. All right. Okay. Very bizarre. Fine. Okay. So you just have to drag and select. Okay. So you right click on it, and you're able to go to the hyperlink. Now, if you want to be fancy, you can use your shortcut key, whether you're on Mac or you're on PC. I'm on a Mac, so I'm actually going to press Command K. Now, normally when you think about hyperlinks, you're saying, well, I want to hyperlink out to a website. Or I've never actually seen anybody really do this in any sort of slide presentation, but like it would go to an email. Interesting. But this document, okay? So when you think about a presentation, you are going to click on something and it's going to move to the next slide. But here you could actually select these slides that you are working on. So if you're really fancy, I'm only half fancy, you can actually set up headers in your slide so that it's going to name the slide so you know exactly where it is. For me, the way that I go about it is I just start with one of the labels and I just move either clockwise or counterclockwise. So what I want to do is I want to be able to hyperlink this part right here to somewhere else in my slide deck that has the information that I need. And if you have any questions during this time, you can ask the question in the chat. So, feel free if I'm moving too fast, if I'm confusing, you could just be like, you're moving too fast. The chat isn't recorded, so no one's going to know that you were telling me I'm moving too fast. And the truth is everyone might think it, but you're the only one that's got enough confidence and courage to actually say it. So let me know in the chat how everything is going. So I can select, let's say, slide 13. And now that is set up so that it animates and then it runs through right to slide 13. And so what you're able to do is that when you get to play on a current slide, so it's going to jump to slide 13. And you could see that it now had the hand, right, with the little pointer finger over the black tip shark title. But before that, before that, it didn't have that, right? So when I delete this example here and I play from that slide, so that's gone and it's over here. So you're going to know where your hyperlinks are and then you'll just plan accordingly. So each one of these is hyperlinked to something inside this document. So the gills happen to be highlighted to slide number 18. And the reason that it's hyperlinked is because, as you might have guessed, slide 18 has the gills pop up. Now, one of the things that is a little bit complicated, and it's one of those hacks that it's a little bit overwhelming, but once you get it, you're like, okay, fine, like that's easy, I have to do it. So the question is, how do you get back, right? How do you get back? So there's a couple ways that you can decide to get back. So you could have a little, a little icon. Like let's say instead of a fast forward icon, because that's a little bit confusing, I could have an icon, let's say that's is like a home, right? That's like a pretty classic icon for, hey, I want to get somewhere and personally I want to get home. So what I want to do is I want to make it white so you can see it. Okay. So now what I can say with the home button is the home button, I need to get to slide 11. That's my home slide. I'm going to make all my designs. I'm going to hyperlink on my first page, everything. And I'm going to then set up a home button on each one of the pages. And the way that you just do that is you do Command K, you go to your slides, you decide which is your home slide, it's 11, and you press OK. And then you can literally just go to every single slide and just press shortcut, right? Paste, Control V. And guess what? PowerPoint's your friend, and it's going to paste it in place on every single slide. Okay, so that's one way you can go about it. Another way to go about it that I think looks cleaner, it's more like an app, but it might be a little bit confusing, but I'll share it anyway because that's how I roll, is you can make a giant box that covers the entire screen. After you've made all your designs on each slide, okay, you can, once again, no fill and no outline, and then you can hyperlink this giant square or giant rectangle, okay, to slide 11, which is the home slide. And then every single slide will let you get that back if you don't want to have the home button. I think the home button is kind of simple. It's kind of straightforward. Some people are overwhelmed by the giant transparent box that covers everything. I don't know, but I'm just like, I want to share options if you're feeling adventurous, and also sharing it with your students, because sometimes our students want to be adventurous and we don't want to prevent them from doing really cool things. But what ends up happening now is when I present this slideshow, so it ends up going through, well, yeah, I literally said don't go from start, and then, here we go. So now every time I hit that home button, I can get right to the beginning. And that home button is my little safety net, and then I'm able to get around to the other parts of the screen, the other interactive things. And I don't know, I think it's pretty powerful, and it ends up being something that's I think exciting. I mean, that's the feedback that I've gotten from students. I've got it from the teachers. So I want to now open it up for some questions. You can unmute yourself if you have a question, but I want to kind of work us through, because I wanted to design this session to spend a good amount of the time working on getting you to create and not just me talking. And if that doesn't work out, then at least I know now that these sessions are better designed as lectures. But I'm hoping that we can work together and sort of work through some of the challenges, maybe share some examples. I don't know if I can give you permission to share your screen, but that would be cool. But let's just open it up to questions right now, and then we can kind of see where we're at. Does anybody have questions? You can in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
It's Lisa Dabbs. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you here.
Yeah. Oh, this is just so amazing. So, Michael, I just have a quick question. So, like in Google Slides, where folks can comment, students can comment if we give permissions and whatnot, is there a feature for that in the new and improved PowerPoint? I have to be honest with you, I haven't used PowerPoint in like 3 years. So we are a Google district, and as a school board member of a Google district, that's what we use. But I really want to begin to share more of these features with my administrative team, and maybe begin to use a bit of a balance. So, but I just have that question. So can a student and/or other people interact with it in that same way, or not so much?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think any way that we can showcase how software is able to meet the same standards of other platforms that we're comfortable with using. So I know that there is the ability to share documents just like in the Google environment. And as you can see here, you can set up these comments. So they would be able to have conversations, whether you're sharing a PowerPoint slide deck in Teams, or if you're sharing it on the web version. I'll be transparent and honest. I'm not sure how it works on the desktop version, but I do know, and maybe Kathy, who is definitely my Microsoft spirit animal, maybe she can share in the chat, or hop on the audio and share a little bit of insight into the comments. But so far, what I've seen from working together with a couple people in Teams using a PowerPoint file inside Teams, we could both comment just like with Google.
That's awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We got a couple other. Oh, so someone, Kathy said I can go to the 3 dots. The 3, you can let. Oh, all right. Oh, in the participant panel, I can go onto the three dots. Oh, I can like make them a presenter. Is that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been reluctant to come off mic because it's your show and I didn't want to do that. But
No, I appreciate it.
on the floating toolbar, the little people heads, only you can do this, or I can do it, or you can do it. But if you click
Yeah,
on
I
the
see
little
it.
people heads, everybody's names will come up. They have three dots to the right, and then you'll have an option as the leader of the session to give them presenter rights. So if anybody created something and wanted to share their screen, that's how you can do it.
Awesome, cool. Well, I hope that everyone here, because this is, first of all, this is just awesome that this many people are in the session. I mean, I'm really excited to deep dive into this. I want to share a little bit more about like some of the things that I've been really impressed around PowerPoint, and I think that those can be certain design elements that will bring value to how you make presentations, whether or not it is an interactive experience or just a straight up presentation. And so one of the things that I've been really impressed by, I mean, first of all, you have this draw ability. So, I'm on a MacBook. I can't shake my love for MacBooks. I just bought a brand new 2020 MacBook. But if you're on a Surface or any touchscreen Microsoft device, so you can do incredible annotation and design around these draw features and like ink to text, ink to shape, ink to math. I just think that these are like super duper powerful when you're talking about creating content quickly and how you can be using a quick sketch, a strategy that will then be able to convert into design and into text. Now, with the insert, I had shared earlier, like the icon. And I'm really into the icons. Like, once again, design nerd, tech rabbi. I can't, I just gotta, be true to who I am. And I love icons. And one of the things that I love about it is, as you can see here, one of the things that I have, spent a lot of time, especially, when I was doing my master's degree, is like really trying to focus on the visual communication and the presentation skills and the psychology around media when we look at it in education. And there's some research about multimedia learning theory, and it's probably the only textbook, like academic book, that I've ever read for pleasure. But I'm a big fan of Dr. Richard Mayer and the work that he does. And he says that, if you're going to have content on the screen, that's fine. If you're going to give them your slide deck so that they can engage with it later, but you want to have icons and imagery that are going to tell a story. So when we're talking about the power of photos, when we're talking about making a plan, when we're talking about linking together different slides and adding multimedia and sharing it, you can see here that I've tried to intentionally select icons that tell that story and reinforce what I'm saying to make it memorable. So you might not remember all this text on the screen, like how will you hyperlink objects, right? But you're going to remember the importance of making a plan and the use of media because you have this image that connects to it. So we have a question in the chat. I'm a beginner. It's okay, we're all beginners. Truth is, I'm a beginner. I haven't used Photoshop until about 3 months ago. I haven't used I just said Photoshop. Here we go with the Freudian slips. I haven't used PowerPoint in years, and I needed to just take a look and see what's going on. So the question was to show how you can make a comment pop up when you hover over the screen. So the way that works is, I have my screen here, right? This is slide number 11. And slide number 11, I have made this box over here that is covering the word snout. Okay, so I have, right click, or you can, Control or Command K, however you're going to do it. If you want to just right click, you got to get to this hyperlink somehow. And you're going to set the hyperlink for this invisible box around the text to the slide you want. In this case, I want it to be slide number 12. And so slide number 12, looks the same as slide number 11, but I now have this box, this little pop-up here with, right, this little pop-up. It can go wherever I want, okay? And it has the title of the term, and then it has a little blurb. And so now when I play this slideshow from the first slide, so if I click on snout, what I'm clicking on is actually a invisible box that is hyperlinking to, I love the pop-ups, to this page. And so it looks like a pop-up. And I love that. The response in the chat is eureka, right? Like that's what I want to hear. I did this workshop a couple weeks ago with educators, and it was like, until they saw it happen, they like didn't believe it was possible. So I feel like when you actually make it happen yourself, you're like, oh wait, this is real. So, you know, coming up with different icons. Now look, the icon library is limited, right? So if you search shark, okay, you're gonna get you're gonna get an icon. What I tried to do, and I wasn't successful, but look, you got to know what the limitations are. So I was like, okay, what could I come up with a cool icon to connect to every single pop-up, every theme, or sorry, every term that pops up. So I was like, okay, so snout is a nose, and I was like, okay, like, you know, that's just like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like helping the design. So, you know, sometimes you don't want to over design it. But the icons are super, super amazing. You have 3D models as well. And if you look at the stock 3D library, I know that one of the first things from Microsoft that blew my mind was 2018 ISTE, seeing their collaboration with the BBC and seeing Paint. Now look, I mean, I built PCs in high school, so I don't want to pretend like I was, you know, like I've been, you know, some sort of like Apple, you know, snob, although some people say I am. But like I built PCs in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I remember Paint as this like super elementary, almost like a joke type of design program. And when I saw Paint in 2018, paint a 3D object, a 3D animal that you could actually like color the different sections of the shark to demonstrate the different parts of the shark, my mind was absolutely blown. And the truth is, I should have brought that into this design. But in the meantime, I'm just going to show you that you can literally insert a shark into your design, and this is like a legit, you know, a legit design that can be manipulated here, and that's just like absolutely crazy. So we can literally go over here and, right, whoops, hold on. We can literally have this, you know, you can't interact with it in the presentation mode unless, once again, somebody wants to, you know, correct me and drop some knowledge bombs. I love how it's, clearly I picked some crazy media. But I think it's pretty powerful to see that you can, you know, you can create these experiences where, you know, even, you know, coming up with like, you know, the pectoral fin is over here, and in this one I can insert the fin of the shark, right? And like that's cool, you know. I mean, I just got to say that's cool. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty solid. Now, one of the things that that I will do, I want to just create a new actually, I didn't want to do that. I want to create a new presentation from templates, because one of the things that I really got excited about when I was looking at the designs, and I actually right now, so, you know, we're in, you know, we're all finishing up, you know, the pandemic school year. So I have 2 boys, and, you know, how many devices do you have in that house? So one of my sons is on a Surface Go. and he has to create presentations for his class about different animals, about space, things that he's excited about. And he was like, in my house, instead of calling me dad, he calls me Ta. So he's like, Ta, look at this. I can create these like super amazing looking slides when I'm talking about space. So one of the things that I absolutely love is this. I mean, I'm telling you right now, like, take it from someone who has a decade of design experience. I went to art school. I thought I was going to be a famous artist. I had New York art shows. I was a creative director. Okay. I love Keynote. I'm not going to pretend like Keynote with Magic Move is not the most awesome of awesome. But when you look at the incredible ways that they are using on Microsoft PowerPoint machine learning to adapt and think and advise you on making beautiful designs, like, you don't even have to think about it. So it's like, powered by Office Intelligent Services. So like, if you're in like the STEAM field, like, you should be nerding out right now, because when you tell your students about machine learning, you can say, hey, let's open up PowerPoint so you can see how machine learning is taking the data of what good design looks like and then advising you on how you should go about that. So when you create a new slide, right, check that out. So the first slide, it's going to let you like maybe pick a different theme. But once you've added to the theme, I mean, these are just beautiful, right? See more design ideas, right? It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I can't stress it enough. So the design is something that's super, super beautiful and really, really nice. I don't want to share anything like too elementary, but even simple things like when you have text on the screen. So like, hold on a second. What happened here? Here. So, oh, now it's not working. All right, usually, or maybe that was on the web version. I am having a hard time keeping track of web versus desktop. In the web version, it actually, this toolbar pops up right over here, super close to the text, so you don't have to like even move up to the top there. I just thought that was like something that's super powerful. But the bottom line is that you can have students creating really awesome designs. You have over here. Let me close this all out here. Right, you have the interactive, with the shark diagram. I did this with a heart diagram for something that was a little bit more advanced. And the truth is, both of these can be as advanced or as elementary as you want. And then rainforest layers is also another cool example. So are there other questions? We have about 10 minutes left. I want to show you a couple more things, and then I'll just sort of run through the closing of the session. But I'd love to be able to answer any other questions, things that you're curious about, because I'm here for you guys, and hopefully able to answer questions. I was wondering, it's like, if there's no questions, I'm either really good or really bad. But since everyone's sticking around, it can't be that bad, right? So hopefully you guys are intrigued and curious and excited about this.
Michael?
Yeah.
Quick question from Lisa Dabbs. So you mentioned the online version versus the desktop. So all the features that are in desktop are in the online version, or not?
No.
They're not.
No, they're not.
Okay.
There is some limitation.
I have the online version only. So if I want to get the full features, I'm going to need to purchase.
Yeah. So the desktop version, I think, of basically every program that I've been using. So OneNote, PowerPoint, Word, they all have things that the web version doesn't have. But I'm in the web version right now because I just wanted to show you so that you don't think that I'm crazy. So when you highlight here, like, I love this little feature in the web version. that has all of these, frequently potentially used tools that is, including the comments that you were asking about before, but just, editing the text. I think that's pretty nice. One of the questions, which one is more able? So, it's a double-edged sword. So every web version of any platform that I have seen from any company, the web version is always going to be more limited because internet bandwidth, the amount of resources it takes to run that kind of software in the cloud, it takes a lot. So there are features that are missing, but I'm actually running a session next week about Presentation Coach, which is only available. And once again, please correct me if I'm wrong. When I'm in Slideshow on the desktop version, I don't see Presentation Coach here. I can record my presentation, but when I'm in the web version, oh, awesome, cool. So Kathy just shared in the chat a comparison. I'm going to go look at that. So everyone should go look at that. I'm not going to look at it right now. But Slideshow on the web version, you have presentation live, right? Which you could have done. And technically, I could have presented this live and set this up. Oh no, it's actually doing it. Okay, so we're not going to do that right now. But one of the things that I'm doing next week, and maybe I'll include the live settings as well. But I've actually been blown away by Rehearse with Coach. This presentation coach, okay? This presentation coach, I'm not going to get into it right now, but you can start rehearsing and it will give you feedback, a whole report that is absolutely incredible. And I feel like it ties into the session because we're still talking about PowerPoint, but I'm not going to start the rehearsal right now, but it's humbling. I mean, as a professional speaker, I try my best to be one. I have a pretty good amount of experience presenting to large audiences. I think I have confidence in how I speak and present and share information. I was a little humbled. And in fact, I am going to use the context of one of my keynote talks to show you how the process of Presentation Coach works. And then I'm going to teach you how to coach your students to become better verbal and visual communicators. So that's going to be an exciting session. But I think that's going to be really powerful. So I hope you guys can come next week and check out that session. Now back to the design here. So if there aren't any other questions, there's one more question. So for students to have access to this, should they have to purchase the Microsoft 365 in case the school only have Google Slides for students? So look, I spend a lot of time making sure that the creativity that I feel students can be empowered by can be supported across all platforms. So if you're in this session because you're a Microsoft school, so this can be done on PowerPoint as we shared. If you came in because you were just curious about the work I'm doing or the title of interactive experiences piqued your interest, I have content on my YouTube channel that showcases how you can do interactive experiences with Google Slides, and you can do the same thing with Apple Keynote. And so you should just know that. So that's sort of that. So awesome. So back to sort of just close up for the last 5 minutes. So a lot of what I have spent my time doing, I've shared it in my book, Educated by Design. It's been a little over a year and a half now. You can kind of see it. Oh, then it just blocks me out. Yay. I'm super proud of it because the book is, I think, very empowering for educators. It gives you very concrete strategies to bring creativity into the classroom. And I think I just spent a lot of time showcasing the different principles of creativity, which is why I was so excited to work together with Q and Microsoft, because I've grown tired of attaching creativity to certain types of software and hardware. And it's just not right. And in fact, it's almost uncreative to say that for creativity, you have to go to this platform or this software. And it's a two-way street. So it's whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Apple, whether it's Adobe, the most creativity that you can express is when it doesn't look like it's going to be easy. But the truth is with PowerPoint, it's actually super easy. And there are, I would say, 3 core features. Slide Designer, the way in which you bring in icons, the way that you bring in video content from the web, from YouTube or from some other source, and then the way in which you can just get the full power of the PowerPoint experience. I'm impressed. And if I wasn't impressed, I wouldn't be doing a session on it. So, you can definitely check out my book. It gives, I think, just some pretty solid and pretty, spot on strategies and I hope inspiring ideas. That's what the educators that share their reviews, share their feedback, that it empowered them. It gave them confidence to realize that they were creative in the first place. I have a weekly newsletter that I'm really spending a lot of time, especially this summer. I know we're burnt out, and I know this is just another email, but if you sign up to the email, I promise you I won't over email you, and every email is carefully curated to give you either an idea, shout out another educator that I feel is doing something awesome, and just let you know kind of what's going on around my sessions and thing that I'm presenting on. But I think that it's it's something that also has been been well received. And then I want you to check out the community. I now have around 400 educators that are part of my Create with Confidence community. And that community is really focused on not only teachers building their creativity and revealing their creativity, but showcasing it. Because as nice as it might be, at least I hope it's nice, for me to share what I'm doing, when you have 15, 20, 30 other educators sharing insights on the different posts that we have, it just builds community. And I've been really proud of just the past 2 weeks that we've launched this, that we have over 400 educators, or at least almost 400 the last time I checked, educators in the community. And so I just wanted to, I'm going to paste a couple of these links into the chat so that you can get access to them, if it would let me cancel. Okay, so so this is to the newsletter. I'll just drop that in the chat. And then the Facebook group is the second. And then you can just check out the book on Amazon. I have an incredible book study guide and a resource, and I say it's incredible because it was a crowdsource review and development from 30 educators that volunteered to connect with me in this last summer, and I'm just really proud that those educators just created an incredible guided questions with me and thoughtful insights and ways to just document the process of going through the book. And we will be embarking in the Facebook group in a book study over there. I think it'll be starting either next week or the week after. And then as was said in the beginning, this session is recorded. I just want to thank everybody for sticking around, for coming. This is my first Microsoft presentation ever. I am the tech rabbi, but I have very much been involved with Apple and Adobe for a number of years. But as I was working on this session, I actually pulled out a presentation from 2012 called Presenting with Creativity in PowerPoint. When I first came to the school that I was a director of education technology for 6 years, they were a Microsoft school, and I had to use the software that I had access to and the students did. So we were in a computer lab, we had PowerPoint, and I realized as I was working with awesome educators like Kathy, who are Microsoft experts, and working with the Q team to really discover the creative power, I remembered those moments of teaching PowerPoint, and I realized it's about revealing the creative possibilities and the creative potential. It's not about the platform, but if the platform is what's happening in your district, then it's time to reveal the creativity in that. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being part of this. I will be giving 11 sessions this summer, and I hope to see you in the upcoming sessions when I talk about PowerPoint next week. I'll be talking about OneNote. I'll be talking about Sway, and I'll be talking about also like the creative collaboration that can happen in Teams and in the Microsoft platform. So, you know, questions like the way that we have grown accustomed to comments in the Google environment, what does that look like, and beyond in PowerPoint. So thank you so much, and I hope to connect with you on social media, The Tech Rabbi, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you're on TikTok, say what's up over there, and thank you so much for being part of this.